Alex Lowe's coming in for his latest lap at 1:32.251, his current time. Can he get himself up onto the front row of the grid? Alex Lowe's in through the final sector. Jonathan Rea has made his way to the halfway mark. He's in line to improve. Could push Toprak Razgatlioglu back down a place. No touching Redding at the moment. Redding, Razgatlioglu and Locatelli have all just exited the pit lane. Redding completing the first sector of his installation lap on what will be his final stint. Lowe's crosses the line to depose Jonathan Rea. He moves up to third. Still 0.4 of a second down though on Scott Redding. There's plenty of a gap for riders to try and slot into here onto the front row of the grid between Razgatlioglu and Lowe's.
Yeah, you catch up with Rea. Made a mistake through 8 and 9 when we rode on board with him, and he's had to roll off on this lap. We'll see if he's going to be able to get a second lap out of his Q tyre now. He's obviously going to take it easy all the way to the line, and we'll see if he can give himself that opportunity.
Great effort that from Axel Bassani, 1:37.838, and he's celebrating it as he makes his way through turns 1 and 2. That was spectacular from Bassani. Demotes Lowe's down to 4th. Jonathan Rea is down in 5th. Saw a little bit of dust kicked up there. I don't know whether someone's perhaps run off the circuit or at very least run off the racing line. Bassani, so it's Tati Mercado, the home man, who has gone down just at the end of his installation lap there. I think that might have been for Mercado.
Yeah, and it's his first flying lap, I think, maybe for Taddy, and he's down 12th fastest at the moment. That looks like a crash at turn 2, so that's the dust that we saw coming up through there, the first right-hander of the lap. So unfortunate for Taddy and all of his fans. He has still put in a good lap time there, though, in 12th fastest, his fastest lap of the weekend.
So Michael Rubin Rinaldi we focus on now. He's down in 13th position, only 10th on the grid a fortnight ago in Portugal. 4th, his best Superpole result since moving on to factory Ducati machinery. He's got a lot of progress that he needs to make here, Rinaldi, from down in 13th. This is a crucial moment for him.
Yeah, really important for Rinaldi. He's been fast this weekend as well. Needs to have a good run through to the line. Obviously, 13th on the grid right now. You'd expect to see him move right up the order, maybe onto the top 5 spots as well. Jonathan Rea, 5th fastest at the moment at 38.0. Rea's not going to improve his time. Rinaldi's not going to get close to that either, though.
Rinaldi does enough to move on to the 3rd row of the grid. A new personal best of 1:38.342, but he can't make any more of an impression than that. So what a standout performance this has been from Scott Redding. Redding not able to make any time, presumably because of the yellow flags on his latest lap. So we're not seeing too many improvements in the latter stage of this session. 40 seconds to go before the checkered flag falls. Laverty just getting across the line to move up in front of Chaz Davies for P12.
Yeah, we're not going to see anyone challenge the pole time right now because Toprak 7/10 off in sector 1. Obviously, he's affected by those yellow flags. Locatelli a good bit off as well. And you'd have to think Scott Redding looks like he's got this pole position wrapped up because Toprak won't be able to get round, you'd imagine, to start another flying lap.
Only one previous pole position for Scott Redding in his short superbike career. That was Jerez 2020. Remember how that weekend ended up for Scott Redding. What a brilliant weekend it was for him as well. Axel Bassani up on the front row of the grid. That's going to be another headline story of this session. And comfortably the best we've seen from Bassani, who's not generally been the best of qualifiers, actually, over the course of this season. Only 2 top 10 efforts. 8th his best at the Emilia-Romagna round. Well, this is going to go some way better than that. It's 3rd position. Checkered flag has fallen, so it's final laps now for everyone who's still out there, and it's only Eugene Laverty and Leon Haslam at the moment who look like they might be able to improve. Yeah,
Laverty finding a 10th of a second on his personal best so far at the halfway stage, but we know it's a challenge to make that tyre last the second lap. Haslam really strong in sector 1. He's down there in 10th fastest right now.
Eugene Laverty, an average of just 14th on the grid this season, and aside from a stunner in Manicourt last season, I'd suggest that's a fair reflection of where he's sat over the last 3 seasons in particular, really. Laverty down in 12th place. He is set to improve on this latest lap, but can he improve in terms of position? Only needs a fraction, really, to move up onto the 3rd row of the grid. It's all about this final sector now. It's the twisty stuff through turns 12, 13 and 14, the technical final 2 turns, but Laverty loses ground in that final sector, that proving just too far to go with that yellow banded super soft tyre.
Yeah, losing a couple of tenths of a second there in the final sector compared to his previous lap, and for Laverty you saw immediately then look back to his rear tyre as well, so presumably that second lap just a stretch too far.
Leon Haslam down in 10th position as things stand. Hasn't been out of the front 3 rows of the grid in any of the last 4 rounds. Suffered his worst Superpole of 2019 here in San Juan, down in 14th. He's not going to be quite so far back this time around, but can he move up onto the 3rd row of the grid, Leon Haslam? The answer to that is no. He too loses time in the final sector. So that's Superpole done and dusted as far as superbikes are concerned here in San Juan. And it's Scott Redding who's your fastest man out there. And so much for Toprak Razgatlioglu's massive advantage advantage that he's had all weekend. It's wiped away as Redding goes pole.
Yeah, and for Toprak though, he's still going to feel pretty good going into the race conditions. He knows how his bike's reacted over longer runs. Himself and Scott Redding both did 16 lap runs yesterday. Toprak had an edge, but the big thing that's going to give Toprak that reason to smile is Jonathan Ray in the middle of the second row.
And Toprak Razgatlioglu still up there on the front row of the grid. It might not have gone to plan. 5 consecutive front row starts now for the first time in his career for Toprak Razgatlioglu. Certainly among the most complete riders that we've got in the World SBK paddock.